All right, we'll get started. Well, hello everyone. My name's Josh Selesnik. I'm a personal development coach here at Expium LLC, a Valiantis company. We're a Atlassian Platinum Solutions partner. So we partner with folks learning how to use the Jira ecosystem. And I specifically work here helping to develop teams. I've also have experience as a Scrum Master. I'm SAFe trained. And I'm also a MBTI certified facilitator. That's Myers-Briggs personality type. So some of you guys out there might be familiar with that. I use that in my coaching. And I'm also a game master. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's one of the interesting things we'll be talking about today. I just want to give you a brief kind of framework for what's going to come up today. Essentially, why we're here is I am here to offer you creative solutions, creative kind of out-of-the-box solutions to your team building problems, personality conflicts, anything that might kind of exist that is a breakdown, maybe not necessarily about the process, but about the people, and to give you guys some really useful tools that I've discovered for working through those things. We also have a giveaway today. We will be giving away a MagCube Pro magnetic wireless power bank, which is exciting. That is essentially a product where it's magnetic, you can plug it onto the back of your phone and it will charge your phone for you. It is really cool. We'll be doing a random giveaway from whoever it is. So at the end of that, I will announce who won. So yeah, that'll be really exciting. All right, let's dive in. You've met me and know what we're here to do. Here's our office. So I wanted to start here with a story about Expium and kind of why we even took an interest in team building and personnel. So it starts back during the pandemic and everything becoming remote, this revolution that took place where there was this huge change. And we noticed one of the main issues that started to happen was that the culture that had so very clearly been developed when we were all together in the same office and able to kind of run into each other, have small conversations, had sort of dissipated, and people were beginning to become more isolated. They weren't hearing from their friends and colleagues as often anymore. And there was a sense that it was just more difficult to stay or be connected on the as a part of us. And company culture has always been really important to Expium in terms of this environment of creativity, of teamwork, of collaboration. That's central to kind of our mission and possibly yours. Theoretically, we knew that we had the technology to communicate with one another, but those conversations that would happen around the lunch table or the water cooler just didn't really have a place to happen. And we also were hiring new folks from all over the world, but they never even had a chance to experience what the company culture was like. So there was sort of a sense of distance and a sense of the good old days and what was it like? And essentially that something had started to go missing in us. So we began looking around for tools that we thought could make a difference. So we found a couple of them. The first place we started looking was in the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which is a book by Patrick Lencioni. It's really popular in the agile world, and we know that it's actually a really great read. I'll talk a little bit about kind of the structure of the book in a second, but essentially what the book is here to communicate to anyone who reads it is that there are 5 possible dysfunctions that a team can have, starting at the bottom of that pyramid and working all the way up to the top of the pyramid that you see there. And essentially, by putting these things in place, you can leverage teamwork as a competitive advantage. However, many teams are dysfunctional, and it's difficult to be able to diagnose what that dysfunction is or know what to do about it. It can feel really uncomfortable. And so having a framework for it actually provided a lot of okay, this was a good starting place. So just to talk a little bit about these dysfunctions. So the bottom one is called the absence of trust, and that is at the bottom of the pyramid for a very key reason. It's because it's foundational. If trust is absent, none of the other ones can even be addressed effectively. And it's like that for all of them. So starting with the absence of trust, moving up into the fear of conflict, lack of commitment, etc. Going up through those, each one kind of builds on the one that came before it. So trust is foundational. What I mean by trust is Knowing that people have your back, your best interest at heart, and that you can be authentic with them, I think is the key. Being able to be honest with your coworkers about what works best for you or what your needs are. If trust exists, that can be leveraged to have productive, passionate conflict. When a group is able to trust each other, then they can really air their actual opinions and get into conflict about it. This can also be uncomfortable, and there are techniques to kind of work into a team's particular conflict style. After that, once true conflict has been aired, it's possible to get to commitment, which is that once everyone's opinions have been heard, being able to commit as a team to what you want to do. And what's amazing is once everyone's put their real opinion out on the table, it actually makes it easier to come to commitment, because nothing's being withheld. With commitment, it's easier to hold each other accountable to what you've committed to. And finally, you can pay close attention to the results with real accountability of what you guys are doing and adjust as necessary. So those are the 5 dysfunctions. The book itself is structured as a fable, which I really love. It's about a CEO named Catherine stepping into a dysfunctional team of executives from a fictional Silicon Valley startup. And it's like reading a work of fiction, and a very compellingly written one at that. As you see her walk through meeting the different characters and the people who work there, and eventually bring them together for an offsite where she addresses these issues that she sees plaguing them. And she has this great speech at the front that I wanted to read for you here. We have a more experienced and talented executive team than any of our competitors. We have more cash than they do. Thanks to Martin and his team, we have better core technology. And we have a more powerful board of directors. Yet in spite of all of that, we are behind 2 of our competitors in terms of both revenue and customer growth. Can anyone here tell me why that is? Silence. Hint, the answer is teamwork that's missing. And she then goes in to talk about that in pretty extensive detail. What she sees is lacking in this executive team's actual performance. And it's a really gripping read. Highly recommend it. So we took some of the thoughts and strategies from this and started to apply it in other areas. But it became very clear to us that teamwork really is the ultimate competitive advantage. It's not something that is necessarily easy to achieve, but it can be done, and it's fairly simple. It just requires courage for people to be able to share vulnerably with each other and build that trust. And then the courage also to have conflict and debate as a team, not to withhold, and to be able to manage a team's discussion well, which is definitely the role of a scrum master or a team coach, and or a CEO. Any kind of team lead who's doing these things has the opportunity to produce real teamwork on their team. But to be real, it's quite difficult to do that, and getting people to be vulnerable or to actually share. We have lots of fears and withholds about that. There's every reason to not want to share with your team how you're actually feeling or what you actually need from them. Sometimes it's just easier to go with the flow. Like, why bother even doing that and putting yourself on the line? Well, here's what I see. If you have real teamwork, people feel safe to build on each other's ideas and contribute to one another. They also feel very comfortable leveraging each other's strengths. As they get to know each other, it becomes clear who is proficient in what specific talents. And it's really natural to ask that person to jump into a role that we feel would work for them. It's one of the benefits of being an agile team, is that there's an opening there for someone who has a specific strength or core competency, either in their personality or in their skill set, to take on different kinds of work. And if the team is aware of that, then much more quickly you can figure out what work it works for which person. Also, team members can fill in each other's weaknesses. I personally believe that each of us have areas where we struggle and have difficulty that are not our primary mode. And often that's why we end up choosing the careers that we choose, whether it's to become a programmer or a manager or a salesperson or a CEO, there's kind of a natural aptitude that we have based on our strengths. And that means we also have weaknesses. So we're going to avoid things that don't work for us. And if people are aware of what each other's weaknesses are, that's huge, because then there's no expectation that they can be relied on for that. You can find ways to work around it. Ultimately, I think one of the best things about this is also that people can do the work that they love. That is key for a couple of reasons. People doing work that they love means they're going to produce a very high quality product, often for the sake of doing it. It will be an act that is beneficial in and of itself. It also means they're going to be likely to work harder and longer because they'll believe in the project. And they're going to be more likely to stick around if they get to do work that they love. You're going to retain your top employees. It's a kind of a key benefit. And really another thing is just this overall sense of purpose of being a part of something greater than ourselves, part of a mission or something that matters, something that could not be accomplished individually, but as a team, we have the resources and the capacity to jump into it. So that is why I feel that that it's worth overcoming those barriers and those fears to be able to do this. And that means there just needs to be a facilitated way to have that kind of conversation with your team, or there needs to be a culture that invites it. Well, let's take a look at a lack of trust. I feel like this is kind of an important one, just so that we know what we're looking at. That might be a familiar looking picture to some of you. I'm going to use a story for this one. So let's say that we have a senior consultant, we have a new consultant. They're working together on a project for the first time. The senior consultant is training the new one, telling her what needs to be done, what the expectations are, the amount of work they need to get done, what their timeline is, all this stuff, lots of stuff for the new person to take on. And the new person's doing their best to kind of grapple with figuring out, well, how long is that going to take me, and how long is that going to take me, and I need to learn that skill, and et cetera, et cetera. And little nerves in the air. Maybe the senior executive is also, or the senior consultant is wondering, like, is this person going to be able to handle what I'm giving them? And say that neither one voices their concerns to the other one, and they just say, great, all right, that's what we need to get done, go do it. And the junior one is unable to, say, prioritize her work very well, or know what's a priority, and get sucked into certain things. And there's a deadline that they miss for the client. Well, that happens. The senior consultant sitting there and thinking, why did this person not get this to me? Starts to feel anxious, maybe even angry at that person, frustrated. And they're thinking to themselves, what, did they not know that, like, we need to get this done on time? God, this person seems so lazy. Don't they know that the client needs this right now? And if they go right then and bring it up to the person, it's going to come with anger and frustration, and might result in kind of an uncomfortable conversation that might not necessarily be productive, and might sort of pull the two apart. Or possibly the senior one is going to not bring it up to the person, withdraw, and end up ultimately trusting the junior consultant less without giving an explanation of why. And that's problematic for them, because going forward, the junior consultant is going to wonder what causes these feelings of upset, why their relationship isn't very good. They're just not going to be aware of the impact that their actions are having. And it's going to pull the two of them apart, possibly even gossiping or venting about the other to other people, and creating politics, which is super detrimental to a company's progress. So what this looks to me like, if I was going to put in like a diagnosis, is unspoken expectations, probably from both sides. But I'm going to put it on the senior person here, because they're the one setting the other person up. The other person's new. They might not have the training. So the senior person should be able to share what the key priorities are, and be able to share what for them might cause anxiety or worry if it's not done at a certain point. They might have a process down that they really trust and they really know. And so by sharing with the junior person, hey, look, I have anxiety if this isn't sent out at a certain time, and I really think it helps our business process if the client gets this by 2 p.m. on Thursday. Now, look, we need to do all this work, but here are the things that I actually think matter. And if you can't do that, that's fine, but please let me know because I can handle it. And I want to make sure that things go out on time. What's kind of amazing is when it can be tough to be vulnerable about that something might give you anxiety or cause an upset. But the thing that actually solidifies the trust between the two people is when the other person says, oh my God, I didn't even know that that's what you needed. Of course I'll do that. What if we try it like this? And they find ways to work together to get that need met. It's miraculous. I'll share an example a little bit later, but that's essentially what can happen. And that builds trust, a sense that our needs are going to be met in this relationship and you'll find a way to work together. It's a difficult thing to do, and it can be immensely rewarding, but there are some issues that I think we have out of the gate that make it difficult to do. Number one, it can just be difficult to share these things. And number two, we might not even be aware of what our preferences are and the different things that we need. So our solution to that was to give people a language to talk about their differences. And that is where the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator comes in. So this is a wonderful system. And what it is a way of, I don't want to say measuring personality because it doesn't measure anything. It's not going to say you're 80% this and 20% that. It's not designed to give percentages, but it is a system that lets us look at what people's natural preferences are, what you naturally gravitate to. So you might be one or the other, and it's a sense of where do I find the most comfort and success? What do I feel drawn to? Again, this is us finding the kinds of work that works for us. If you're really extroverted, being able to do something that involves lots of people is probably a place where you're going to see a lot of success, and you're going to look for careers that go in that direction. So I'll talk a little bit about this. Differences between people are not random. Instead, they fall into different patterns or types. Carl Jung. So this theory is based on Carl Jung, the psychotherapist from Freud's era. And he really believed that the differences between us are not random, that actually we do have these patterns that exist. And he created a theory around it. And it was later refined by Myers and Briggs, two women in the 1940s. They essentially came up with these 4 pairs of preferences. And when I talk about preferences, when I run people through the course, we'll often have them write their name with their right hand and then write it with their left hand. And that should feel like what the difference between your preference is. Control and flourish with your right hand and difficulty with your left hand, but at least you can still get it done. It's basically your name. So here we have them: extroversion, introversion, sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling, and judging and perceiving. I personally love this tool because it doesn't say that you're one or the other. You use both, but you have a natural preference. And 2, when people are run through this tool, the process, it just wasn't what I expected going into it. So doing a feedback session with Myers-Briggs starts with taking the indicator, which is it's like an exam or a test. It's a way that you can just go through and say, I prefer this, I prefer that. But critically, you do not get the results of the exam when you finish it. The results are saved for the very end of the whole session. And after you take the indicator, you'll meet with a facilitator or a trained professional who will then do a group feedback session where before sharing anyone's type, they'll just go through what the different distinctions mean: extroversion, introversion, sensing and intuition, etc., very distinctly as it fits into this theory, and then give the people in the room the opportunity to hypothesize or wonder about which preference fits them better. And it's a really exciting self-discovery process, because throughout it, people get to say like, oh, well, that sounds like me, or like, I kind of fit in this one, but I think it's more like this one. And they'll be prompted to ask for examples. They'll be like, well, when this person comes to my office, it kind of bothers me because I tend to like to work alone. And that's kind of always how I've been. Like when I was younger and my mom would come into my room, like I just wanted privacy, and that's the only thing I've ever wanted. So I definitely fall in the introversion type. And it's not that I don't like people. It's just that it's harder, or it takes more energy to be able to do that. Like this is kind of who I am. And then everyone around the room can kind of nod their heads and be like, oh yeah, maybe even tease the person. It's like, yeah, I can never get coffee with you ever, whatever. And it's a way to open up about how we have these different things. And people have light bulb moments where they're like, oh my God, I thought that I was just incapable of scheduling my whole life, and I had to kind of fix myself to be able to do it. And I can see that I just have a different way of working. And in that sense, I don't necessarily need to change myself, but just find ways to adapt. So I think it's quite nice for people accepting themselves and seeing the value in each other's differences. And then with that, it becomes easier to communicate your needs, and strengths become super clear. People who are good with people who are good with processes, people who are good with scheduling, people who are good with autonomy. You start to get a sense of this. And one great story that I had from my team that I'm the scrum master of was running them through this. And I'd had one team member who was having a difficult time communicating in the group. And I'd been aware of it for a while, but the things that I were trying wasn't really working. It sort of felt like it was out of my hands. At some points, she had the experience of being passed over, being unimportant, and then would withdraw and not contribute to the group, not want to share. And through doing this, the person had the courage to share in front of the whole group those facts that she often felt passed over, and she knows this is something she's sensitive about, but the topics just move really fast, and she often has something she wants to contribute, and then she feels afraid that she's not going to be heard. And so she kind of shuts down and gives up. And what was amazing was seeing the whole group say, we had no idea. I will definitely make space for you to share. Like, I'm sorry, I want you to know your contributions are really valuable. Like, we care about you as a team member. We want you to be able to contribute. And she is one of my, she's incredibly creative, one of my best performers. And to see her feel at ease in the group, and for the group to now circle back and make sure that if she has something to share, that she can share it, and then she does, it's just awesome. And it takes a lot of stress off my plate knowing that my employee is feeling fulfilled in their role, both socially and in the work they're doing. So I think it really comes down to this idea of, instead of I need to change myself and be better, I just need to explain who I am to other people. All right, so that was a lot of information, but hopefully it was a fun story. I want to do an interactive session next with you guys. So anyone listening, this is a chance to go through two of the distinctions from the Myers-Briggs system. So this is kind of one of the four preference pairs is called sensing and intuition. And what I want to do here is take you through the process. I'm going to explain to you what these all mean. And then I want you to hypothesize which one sounds more like you. And if you'd like, put in the Q&A chat which one you identify with and why. I'm the only one who's going to see it, so just let us know if we can share it publicly, because these results tend to be really interesting and spark conversation. So I want to give you an opportunity to share that. and to read it off, because again, this is where kind of the magic happens in the process. All right, sensing and intuition. So you can see here that both of these are cameras that are pointed out there, and this pair has to do with how we take in information. So that's why the camera is a great metaphor, is that you can look at, they're both taking in information, taking the visual information of the world around them. So the one on the right is intuition, and you can see there that the camera is zoomed out, and it's got this broad picture of the entire field of flowers. And those who prefer that are going to tend to see big picture patterns. They're going to see the ways the flowers are flowing with the wind, the different colorations, the gradient of the ground. They're going to see how long they go off into the distance, and they're going to see what's on the horizon. Essentially, those who prefer intuition are going to take an imaginative, futuristic, big picture approach. And they're going to be drawn to theories, ideas, and concepts that make sense of large masses of data or large masses of input. And they're going to want to use these big scale conceptual frameworks to be able to understand things. They might like solving complex systems in terms of large programming problems and architecture issues, or possibly someone looking for large scale personnel issues, trying to make a difference on a large scale tends to be what people with intuition are focused on. Whereas sensing, you can see that it's focused on a single flower. This is going to be much more likely to notice the details about a situation without necessarily caring how it fits into a bigger picture. Possibly you do, but also there's this idea of looking at the specifics just for the specific sake and having a really good memory for those. These are actually going to be the patterns that someone with intuition might see. Someone with sensing might be able to say like, well, that sounds like a nice idea, but actually given these specific details, I don't know if that's accurate. So this is adopting a realistic day-to-day approach. If you prefer to, say, just deal with the practical aspects of life, deal with what needs to be done right now, right here. And if all of those little bits and pieces come together to form a larger theory, that's great, but that's not necessarily what the focus is. This is also folks who are really great at processes and systems, and often kind of need processes and systems to be able to approach something, whereas someone with intuition might be like, all right, well, here's the big picture, let's just move in that direction, and they'll sort of spontaneously try different things. Whereas that would not work when someone with sensing who's like, whoa, 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 I need to know the details, I need to know how this is going to work. Like, you gotta fill me in on this stuff before we start just moving towards some big picture. So that's the distinction. And here we would ask of you guys what you see for yourselves. So feel free to put anything there that you do see for yourself. We're going to move on to our next subject here. So this is our last tool. Get ready for it. It's a team favorite, probably our most popular. Tabletop role-playing games, or similar to Dungeons and Dragons, which you might have seen on Stranger Things. The newest season featured people playing it, but it's kind of jumped into the modern zeitgeist in one of its newest iterations. It's been around since the 1980s, 1970s. People have been playing it for a long time. But since things have been going virtual, it's become very popular, and the newest rule system is extremely popular. There's a movie coming out too pretty soon, Dungeons and Dragons movie. So I think it's called Den of Thieves. I'm excited. So that is it. And guess who else loves Dungeons and Dragons? Some famous people. I love that Vin Diesel does this. He actually has like an online thing where you can watch him play, which is really fun. Stephen Colbert also does. But this is really popular. We definitely have some big big names that enjoy playing Dungeons and Dragons. Joe Manganiello is another one. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine plays. There's plenty of folks who enjoy it. And that includes our team. Our team has really loved it. Amazing onboarding experience. We've started to make this a part of our onboarding where we'll make sure to make space for people to do this. And what's awesome is it gets them like a very relaxed feel with the team really early on. They still deal with real problems in these games, and they still are asked to like work as a team and work collectively and do what they normally would do in the work hours, but it's much more relaxed and casual and fun. And this particular person said, like, I got to know my team so much better. I got to know like my coworkers, and like most importantly, just feel okay around them. Like I didn't need to be super on all the time. I could let my hair down a little bit from time to time and feel that way. So really cool in terms of onboarding. Individual creativity of team members, I think, was really, really awesome. We had one person remark that this game, she'd had writer's block for a number of years and had used to be a novelist, which was kind of a surprise to her team. And she said that playing this with me unlocked a flow of creativity that she hasn't seen for a long time for herself. And that it was just really fulfilling and interesting. And even though it's not the same as writing a novel, working with characters and getting to know other people and kind of letting go of control and learning to trust her creative impulses was just awesome. And yeah, the whole team was really proud. So I think that's key. And I think people do learn about each other. I'll go into this a little bit more in another slide, but you play a character. In a sense, that character is one step removed from you. It's almost like you get to sort of observe yourself or create like an avatar of yourself. That's like this fantasy character that's out there. And it's much easier to talk about things or explore stuff with that level of remove. It's almost like you can be more honest and frank about who you are, while also embellishing parts of the character or exaggerating it, so it's not like an exact replica and it's like an artistic creation. And I feel that's one of the most fulfilling things about the game, is this sense of like truth through art. The game is essentially a storytelling experience. Storytelling is like this ancient human art that we've been doing for generations for lots of reasons, to make sense of the world around us, to understand the events of our lives, to put them in a larger context, something bigger than ourselves, and to entertain ourselves too, to feel like there's something enjoyable to do with our time, something to look forward to. When I start off with a group, I'll kind of like this guy present them with a world. Today we're going to adventure in blank, blank, blank. Say, for example, a science fiction universe where everything is slowly being eaten up by a black hole, say at the center of the world, or at the center of the galaxy, and it's happening faster than it should, and that's the premise. And then I'll hand it off to my players and ask them, who do you want to be in this world? And give them an opportunity to create, like, well, I want to be a starship pilot, or I think that I would make a great retired military captain, or I want to be a robot of some sort that knows everything. And then we work together and we kind of fold these characters in together and make a world that is all their own. I provide a framework, but in the same sense that a scrum master or a team coach is there to sort of facilitate the team to come up with the ideas themselves, and make it driven by them, that's a lot of what I'm looking to do. And the result is we get this experience that's much bigger because we've created it together. There's a lot of things happening that I couldn't have predicted when I originally came up with the concept. And I'm open to the contributions that the players have and the different ways that they want to direct the story or their characters' arcs. And it requires this huge sense of active listening where me and everyone else at the table is really paying attention to what the other people are saying and contributing to the story so that they can build off it, so that they can do something with it, find ways for their characters to interact or find ways for them to collaborate or what have you. And in a sense, it's this free-form conversation that's guided by me, but where it's also open and people are passing the ball back and forth to one another. Well, I do step in from time to time to involve people maybe that haven't had a chance to contribute as much. For the most part, teams start to learn how to communicate with one another in this setup, and they end up creating a story that they can all get really invested in. I'll give you an example. I told you that at the beginning I was using the 5 dysfunctions of a team as a framework for this, for building trust and for going into conflict and all sorts of other things. So these games are definitely designed to produce the results that you would get through working with the 5 dysfunctions of a team, like a consulting session with that, but in a more kind of creative, fun, open-ended way of doing it, where it's a safe space. Like it's all imaginary. All the consequences and everything are imaginary. So you can try things. You can take bigger risks in this situation than you would otherwise. The company's bottom line isn't necessarily on the line. Let's see what I did there. But anyway, I showed you at the beginning that quote from Catherine, the CEO, when she was stepping in and talking about, the competitors and whatnot. Why is our team like this? So one way that I start off one of these adventures is they all have their characters, and they're part of a military group on a large jungle continent. And the session starts with them being called into the military commander's office. And they've all been assembled into a group. And she starts off addressing them and says, "All right, everyone, do you know why you're here on this continent? Why is our mercenary company here right now?" And then I give the players a chance to respond. They either answer correctly or incorrectly from her point of view. But let's say someone speaks up and says, "Ma'am, we are here to make money and get whatever we can from this land." And she would say, "That's exactly right. And I don't want anyone here to have any illusions that we're here to do anything else. This is not about peace. This is not about helping people. We are here to make money. Understand?" Right now, one of our commanders is operating up the river, maybe a 2-week journey up there. He's had a camp established, a fort, for 2 years, and there's supposed to be diamonds that he can find up there, but he has failed to report back in any meaningful way or show any evidence of his progress. And frankly, I am concerned that if he does not report back soon, or if we don't get a sense of it, then all of the resources up there will be going to waste. And if there are diamonds to be found, that we are neglecting that. So I'm going to send you all there as a reconnaissance squad to infiltrate and find out what's going on with him and his company. And from there, it's kind of up to the players. It's really open-ended. They get to talk and discuss amongst themselves what they want to do and ask her questions about what they think, like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Why was he given so many troops? Like, what kind of evidence is there that diamonds could be found? What other threats exist in the jungle? What might he be dealing with? Et cetera, et cetera. And I let the players direct how they want to approach that, because ultimately the success of the mission is theirs alone. Essentially, the players are taking on the role of the hero, and my role is to present dangerous situations where they have to step in to keep them from getting worse. This kind of imaginary world has its own set of consequences that are going to propel the story forward and make it so that each story is also unique based on the choices that people make. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. And because it's up to them, it's up to the heroes to choose how they handle the dangerous situations I present them with. It's going to be different every time. So that is a little bit about how this is structured. Another kind of concept I want to talk about here. The experience is of being you, but also one step removed. There's this idea when you create a character that the character is like a projection. It's you through an imaginary set of stained glass that brings the character to life. It's not really you, and in that sense, it becomes almost easier to have a dialogue with yourself when you're thinking about it. It's like two guys who have gotten into, say, a business in the circus, and they've been doing it for 20 years. And they're sitting there, like, looking at the Ferris wheel, and one of them asks, so if you got in this business right now, or if you had to start all over again from the beginning, do you think you'd want to be where you are right now? And the other guy kind of listens, and he's like, no, I don't think I would. And then the first one says, so what are we doing here? We should shut this down. And that's the end of it. But it's essentially being able to talk to yourself in an objective way is one of the best ways to work through problems that might seem otherwise untenable. And this game is a free space to do that, to work things out with your team or yourself. And again, deal with yourself, but one step removed. Deal with each other, but one step removed. It's not quite real. It's a safe space. It's a liminal space. So that is essentially what I wanted to share there. I'll let you know a little bit more about how it actually works here. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of it. So if you do want to book a session, what you'll do is you'll schedule your sessions with us. And from there, the players are going to receive packages. We have welcome packages that are really cute, that have snacks and maps and a set of dice like the ones that you see right there. Then when we actually meet, we'll go through introductions where we'll meet everyone. We'll do some icebreakers to get to know folks. And then I'll go through the mechanics, the character building, the plot introduction, so the kind of world that they'll be adventuring in, and then go over the working agreement if there's anything that people want each other to be aware of in terms of personalities or discomfort. What are things that we want in the game? What is absolutely off the table? Is there anything we should know about how we all want to interact here? And that's a great facilitated conversation that we do that uses some stuff from the Myers-Briggs. And then we go into character building, where I give everyone a character. There's a bunch of pre-made ones for them to select with and then embellish to make their own. And then we'll do a deep dive into the mechanics, make sure everyone's good to go on that. And then we start the session. Each session you can see is basically the same thing. Each one is a half-day procedure. And at the beginning, we'll do an exercise or some sort of an icebreaker again to refresh everyone. Then we'll go into play. I'll tell them where they were in the previous week. It's like picking up a book where you last bookmarked it. And then ask the players what they want to do, and then just kind of follow the trail as we go. And at the end, we'll do a retrospective where we talk about what worked and what didn't work, acknowledge people's unique contributions, be able to kind of like debrief from it, see what we learned, takeaways. And we'll do that for 3 sessions. And at the very end, I do a team lead retrospective and recommendations where I'll do a one-on-one with the team lead, and we'll just talk through what they learned, what they know about their team, what they'd like to see in the future. And yeah, that'll be kind of more of like a one-on-one coaching thing between me and them. And that's it. I want to thank you all for coming. I work here at Expium, a Valiantis company. Again, we're an Atlassian solutions partner, and we do consulting for using the Atlassian suite of products. And we really love doing this and are quite good. If you'd like to schedule a coaching call with us or a consultation call, feel free. We also do trainings for Atlassian certified programs. We provide certifications for people and safe training as well. And we do custom development solutions when there are needs that our customers have to go in and have our programming department be able to make a kind of full, robust product for you. Here at the end, I'd also just like to show you we have upcoming webinars and classes for folks to see. These are the ones up ahead. You can see March 16th, there we are at the top with the Creating a Foundation of Tools and Trust, but we have Jira Service Management, the Fundamentals, Jira Service Management Bootcamp, as well as project portfolio management, which is a great kind of like large scale approach. But you can find this all on our website, and I'll actually kind of pop out of here. Show that to you. Expium.com. So beautiful. If you go in here and click on training, and then you can scroll down. Got a little bit on our approach to training there, folks you've worked with. These are all of our free webinars here in blue. Here are paid classes down here in green. Some of them you'll buy tickets, other requires just contacting us and setting up a consultation. For any of what you heard here, you can book the custom team build experience or the series. The tabletop role-playing game would fall underneath the series and the single experience. Whereas the Myers-Briggs consultation is just a single one, and you'll just click contact us, and that'll take you down here at the bottom of the page where you'll fill out kind of what you're looking for. And you can see again, we have our upcoming events right there. So yeah, that's it. Go back into the thing. Let's go and check on the Q&A and see if we have any questions, and I will announce the winner of our giveaway. Okay, give me a second. All right. Hello, folks. So, Lashandra Span, congratulations. You are the winner of our Power Box today. Please email kylie.braun@xbm.com to receive your prize and your congratulations. Let me see if I can get that email put in here for you. Oh, there you go. Thank you. So yeah, go ahead and type in there and you will do it, but congratulations. You're going to be very well charged. We're also going to do a second prize. We're going to do a free game for her and her 5 people. For Mayuri Patel, M-A-Y-U-R-I. And Mayuri, congratulations. You've won a free game for you and up to 5 of your people. I hope to see you soon. That's super exciting. All right, let's take a look at some of our questions here, and I'll pop in and see it. Oh, great. Mayuri actually shared. Definitely intuitive, and take a look at a holistic view and approach to situations. That's really wonderful. Yeah, I think that is definitely a hallmark of someone with an intuitive approach, trying to see the big picture and how things are connected to each other is really key. I'm also intuitive in my approach, so I definitely relate to that. Yes, there are always multiple options available. Being strategic, I agree there as well. Being curious, I think, is great. Yeah, for folks who prefer sensing, they tend to be a little bit less adaptable to change. But I think that's often because they've put so much thought into the processes that they've created, and there's this kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a good thing. But you know, you need both types. All right, we've got Scott Mayfield. Oh, he's sharing intuitive. Always trying, when practical, to reinvent the wheel. I find immense gratification in testing and implementing new ways of doing things. yeah, I think that's definitely a strong category for intuitive there. Enjoying like novel. I tend to stick with the status quo when it is proven to work, but I like to research on the side because we never know when there is a far, far better alternative just waiting around the corner. I think you personally have seen some of these things from me. Yeah, I have. I've worked with Scott before. I know that you have a great mind for that stuff. Yeah, I think that's definitely that's common in terms of that being curious that something else might be more productive, or kind of a vision of a brighter future is for sure a quality that um, you'll see with intuitive. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Scott. Love hearing about that. All right, I think we have a couple other questions here. Da, da, da. Hold on, sorry. Conflict. So I have a couple of team members who don't like working together. Is this a problem? No, I mean that's actually kind of what we're here to be able to solve. We work to make sure that people feel comfortable with each other and can go into breakout rooms for one-on-ones and maybe get to know each other a little bit better. But the idea being that self-discovery through that process, people can learn to share things about each other and hopefully air if there are grievances that have existed in the past. This is supposed to be a safe space to share and talk about that. The conversation can be a little dramatic, but I think that that's productive. Because I believe that that's what keeps us engaged, and that's what's going to get what's going to get the results that are needed. So no, this is definitely designed for people with conflict, and we've even worked with a team where a manager and his report were having some difficulty with each other, and by playing with this, they got much more relaxed and comfortable in each other's presence. They didn't mind kind of looking silly, and it strengthened what they could achieve together. So okay, so we got that. If someone has never played before, is that an issue? No, that's not an issue. We have a pretty good onboarding process, I think, and personally, I like to play with people who've never played or done one of these things before, kind of in either Myers-Briggs or the other thing, because it makes it so that they're coming to it with really fresh eyes. They don't have any preconceived notions about who they are or what they are. And they'll often come with really inventive solutions to things that might not have occurred to someone who's maybe been around the block a few more times. So yeah, I love working with new players, new people. Okay, good question. Let's see. Anything else? Okay, one more. Are there a lot of rules to learn? I heard it's really complicated. Yes and no. There are definitely rules, but I don't think any more than you would see in like Jira. In fact, a lot less than in like a Jira bootcamp or in programming. It's fairly simple, and we've worked pretty hard to make sure that the game mechanics as they stand are as simple as possible while still being engaging. Now, granted, some groups actually seem to like more complicated systems. I'm looking at you programmers, and there's like a joy there in having that, but definitely our base thing is like super simple. It involves very little math, very little kind of complicated rules, and it's meant so that you can jump in and get the most out of your 3 sessions and not spend all that time learning how the thing works, and more kind of get into the practice with it. So yep. All right, well, that's all of our questions. I want to thank you guys all for attending. It's 11:55. We'll end 5 minutes early and let you guys go. But yeah, thank you for discussing, and it's been a pleasure sharing with you. I think I've given you all the resources you need if you want to reach out. There's my email. If you have any specific questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, we're happy to have you. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and hopefully we'll hear from you in the future. But if not, good luck out there.